Did you know that Portland has some of the oldest drinking establishments on the West Coast? This includes my beloved Slim's. So today on CityCast Portland, we're talking with Nate Gale and Alfredo Moreno, hosts of the History by the Glass podcast. They've been drinking their way through Portland's historic taverns and are here to share some of the unexpected history from some of our favorite watering holes. So pull up your bar stool, we've got some stories. It's Monday, August 28th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about.
Since we are a bar podcast, I would like to propose that everybody just turn 90 degrees as if we're just sitting at the bar together.
Yeah, it's going to be a terrible idea for this mic situation, Nate.
Look at each other there. Oh, yeah, okay.
So I'm going to sound like this entire time?
I'm a guest. I will play by the
I
host.
appreciate that, Nate.
Yeah,
Thanks for letting us do our show the way we normally do it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, Nate, Alfredo, thanks so much for stopping by today.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you for having us.
Oh, we're honored someone took an interest.
Yeah.
You know what? I started listening to your podcast because of the Slims episode, and I live in St. John's, so I was really excited. I don't know if you've picked up the vibe of St. John's. St. John's loves St. John's. It's like Portland loves Portland. St. John's loves St. John's. You know, but how do you pick which bar you're going to do a deep dive on? Is there like a historic tavern registry that we don't know about? Like, I'd love to know.
Yeah, I'll take that one. This whole project started based on a book that I stumbled across at the Skyline Tavern called History by the Glass by a guy named Paul Pinterich in 1996. It had a tour of Portland's old bars at the time. And I showed it to Nate. I said, we've got to go to all these that are still open. I don't know what we're going to do, but let's just go. And so we started going. We went through that book. This same guy did a second book in 2007. We finished all those bars. And now we're on to what we call phase 2, which is just, there's a lot more old bars out there. And Slim's, for whatever reason, was not included in either of those books. And it's one of the many that we've gone to on our own. And yes, to answer your question, there is a unpublished historic tavern registry that we have kind of created.
It's us.
Yeah. It's us. We've just kind of built this thing over the last few months, and it's got it all. It breaks down, by business age, by location age, building age. We found some ways to kind of look back through city records and find some of that, but now we're just flying freestyle.
Have you found that there are general characteristics of a classic old Portland bar? Because I know you've gone through how many now?
45, something like that.
45.
Some are still with us.
Okay. Are there any things that you're just like, oh, this is a classic Portland bar?
Other than photos of bridges being built. So there isn't like a good connective tissue of.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, of what makes a old Portland bar. But there are some things that we really love to see in an old bar. And that's, celebrating its own history. As soon as you walk in, you know that you are stepping into something that's been there longer than maybe you have been there.
Just put the established date on your website. Absolutely. That's a step in the right direction.
That's fantastic. Yeah, a paragraph about your history on your website is amazing. Celebrates the people. They're photos of regulars, people who've been working there a long time. Maybe there's a little plaque at someone's chair who is no longer with us. But that actual memorabilia stuff, for us, the idea of community is above all else in what we do, I think. And just the idea of the ghosts and the generations of people that have walked in and out of these places. I've lived here my whole life. So if I haven't been to these places, I've certainly driven by them my entire life. And they do feel like just part of the fabric of who I am, whether or not I've walked in there for the first time or the 100th time. There's just something romantic about at any moment, this thing could be endangered and it could go away.
Yeah. I moved here from Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2010. And, what I've found in Portland is a city that, really leans into its preservation, maybe more than we give it credit for. There is a lot of old bars here. I mean, there's a lot of bars in general, but there's a lot of places. I mean, thankfully for this project, if we were back in Albuquerque, we would have wrapped up, a year and a half ago. But, the wrecking ball is always just hanging around the corner, ready to, to redevelop, your favorite old bar. So there is some urgency to this project because of that.
Hey, Alfredo, I could tell from listening that you're the guy that goes deep. Like, you're the guy that puts on that little, like, detective hat and you have the magnifying glass. Which bar has had the most unexpected history?
First, it was a no-brainer to go to Huber's and its incredible immigrant-powered history, which I recommend anyone look up. But unexpected is the word you asked, and I think for me, the most unexpected was a place that not a lot of people know of as an old bar, but the Selwood Saloon in Selwood, of course, has been serving drinks out of its building since 1906. And it's been a documented place where people were getting drinks since 1890. But we stopped in there with minimal expectations. And when you walk in, it is just a classic Portland neighborhood tavern. There's nothing all that special about the inside, but it's like the second oldest, still in the same building place in the whole city. So nobody speaks of it. No one seems to put it up there with a Huber's or a Jake's.
So the unexpected part is that just no one seems to know about it.
Exactly.
It wasn't like, and it's run by a ghost, or anything.
Right.
Okay,
No, we don't, I mean, there's, like I said, Huber's probably has like the most epic history, but it's very well documented. Very well known if you go look it up,
or you could listen to our podcast also. That's a great way to get information on the.
But there's so many joints with their own story out there. That's I think ultimately what I'm getting at there.
Gotcha. And how old is Selwood Saloon?
It's been a bar in that exact building since 1906.
Whoa!
And there's been a bar on that corner since 1890.
Wow! And so the oldest bar in town is.
It's technically Huber's, commonly accepted as Huber's, which is like 1879, but Huber's has been in its building only since 1911 or so, 1912, something like that. So, it moved around as the floods washed it here and there downtown. And
great stories about them serving turkey sandwiches out on the on a man-made rafts.
I love that story.
It's
my favorite story. I try to tell this story to everyone. I'm like, no, you don't understand. The Chinese cook, he was just like adrift.
Yes,
he was just making
turkey sandwiches out on a raft. People like to say that it's a Spanish coffee bar, but that only came around, 40, 50, 60 years ago. So really, it's a turkey bar if you have to call
100%
Huber's anything.
Okay, so you just said 1911, Alfredo, and I want to bring us back to something that you uncovered. When for anyone who
I'll go check the mail.
Yeah, anyone who like me goes to Slim's often because you live here in St. John's, you will know that 1911 is a pretty big year because that is supposedly when Slim's was, when it was built, when it started. Because there's actual tile work that says estimated 1911. It's beautiful, right on the floor there, right before you go, order your drink or whatever. But Alfredo, what did you find out about Slim's opening date? Like, what did you learn when you dove in?
Basically, I found out there's no really way in hell it was opened before 1935. I don't know why they picked 1911, but it's 1935. The guy who opened Slim's was injured while building the St. John's Bridge.
I'm sorry, but that's so beautiful. That story, just like, I'm a guy who helped build this bridge is right here.
100%.
I hurt myself. And now I'm going to just build this institution.
Peak St. John's.
Yeah, this bridge will be here for 100 years. This bar will be here for 100 years.
And here's the bar. You're welcome.
Yeah.
My work is done.
That bridge wasn't there in 1911. So, So I went back through the city sewer records. You can kind of look and see sewer water inspectors, even back to the turn of the century, were making handwritten notes about what kind of business was there. And, you can kind of see that it was like a general store. Yeah, maybe somebody sold somebody a beer once there. But it was not a bar until it became Slim's Cafe in, 1935. But the conclusion we made was like, who gives a shit? Like, it's still super old. It's super rad, super convivial. We loved it. And
And my recommendation to anyone opening a bar, you can put anything you want in your tile and you're going to be fine.
I heard that you met the man who did the tile work.
Absolutely. We met Rick down there.
Well, so here's the deal with Rick. We know him as Ricky Pickles. That's not his real last name, I'll have you know.
Oh, good.
But the reason we call him Ricky Pickles is because when he starts drinking a bit, then he becomes Picky Rickles. we want to know if it's Ricky Pickles or Picky Rickles yet, And so, so I don't know if you met Ricky Pickles or Picky Rickles. What time was it?
Oh, it was.
I think the sun was still up.
Nah, it was Ricky Pickles.
Yeah, 7:30.
Yeah.
All right, you met Ricky Pickles. All right.
God, we got to get back to that bar, man.
But you see, these stories about how regulars are connecting at the bar, that's the whole point of having a place in the community.
All right, well, let's take a quick break here. And when we return, more with Nate and Alfredo on Portland's historic bars. So I heard, Alfredo, that you are a bathroom enthusiast. That's what I heard. But after telling me that you search for records using sewer
I feel like I'm being painted into a corner here.
documentation, I'm just like, damn, Alfredo, you really are leaning hard into this bathroom enthusiasm. Which is the best bathroom you've seen?
Well, yeah, if anyone who has listened to our pod knows, I do rate the bathrooms because I live and breathe. I'm a human being. I rate them on a 5 urinal puck scale rating system. We've only given one 5 puck perfect score.
5 pucks.
It was to the restaurant side bathroom at Jake's Famous Crawfish downtown, mostly because it looks like a joke. It looks like you're about to walk into like a prop closet. It doesn't look like it's going to work. And you open the door and all of a sudden you're in this little tiny bathroom and it's got So Jake's is one that sticks out. I love the one at Nick's Famous Coney Island. It's got all their history stuff kind of surrounding the evacuation station. And we just went to Barley Room, which Barley Mill, not Barley Room.
Is that McMiniman's?
Yes.
McMiniman's, the oldest McMiniman's in town, and it had a disco ball spinning in its men's room. And so I love to be surprised. I should probably reframe that. I don't always love to be surprised in a men's room.
Just say, everyone, Alfredo loves to be surprised in a men's restroom. So if you see him, just know he likes a good scare in the bathroom. So if you had to pick your favorite one, it would be...
Oh, I'm still going with Jake's. It's a unique little doorway. Wonderful restroom.
Jake's the only bar with a bathroom right at the bar also. I don't know if you know the trough story.
Rumored. Yeah, underneath the bar.
Yes, the divot in front of the bar is once used as a trough.
Can you imagine that?
So they say.
So gross. Like, who would want to be around that? Like,
Cowboys, man. Yeah.
So if you guys aren't picking up what Nate's laying down, is that drinkers would just sit there in the bar and just start peeing just right at the bar, like a drunk dog.
It is expedient.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you continue the lore of Portland, and then they would get shanghaied,
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
And then the floors would
exactly.
just open, and then they would just fall through, and then bloop.
Oh, yeah.
Shanghai's and brothels and sub-bar urinals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Nate, we have Alfredo as the bathroom enthusiast, but Nate, you are a burger enthusiast. Every time you go to these pubs, you have a burger. Which is the best burger in town then from all the, historic bars you've been to?
Of course, of the historic bars. Burgers and bathrooms go hand in hand.
Exactly.
So
B's and B's.
We're happy to
the old B&B.
cover the circle of life. Best burger. I'm going to give you a rundown of a couple good ones. I was really surprised at the happy hour burger at the Leaky Roof Gastropub. Really underrated 5-person bar in this 20-person restaurant on Jefferson. I really liked that place a lot.
I've never heard of this place. Where
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Right by Goose Hollow, right around the corner.
Lutz Tavern on Woodstock has a amazing burger that they're doing well. Probably the closest to the Stanich burger, which everybody hailed is wonderful and is an episode we've done as well before they shuttered. But the best burger in the city, hand to God, is Nob Hill Bar and Grill on Northwest 21st across from Good Samaritan. Everything is just perfect. Dill, onion, mayonnaise, crunch, all that stuff. Perfect. So don't sleep on Nob Hill Bar and Grill.
Okay.
Deluxe cheeseburger.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
I also love a good burger.
Not to kiss up. I'm not sucking up to you, but that Slim's burger is fantastic as well. Affordable. You can see it being made at that big restaurant-style grill top there. Mm-hmm. That's a great one as well.
It's so good. The cooks there all vary as how they make it, My favorite is, of course, one of the owners, Michie. When she makes that burger, it is the best, one of the best burgers in town. And I was going to tell you that, but I didn't want to sound like I was sucking up to myself.
Back to Slim's. Well, no, I'll go back and demand a different chef.
Well, she's in Tokyo right now, so and all the chefs are awesome. I'm just saying that there's something special when she makes it. I once told her that, and she was like, "I use garlic salt. Could it be the garlic salt?" I was just like, "Yeah, it's probably the garlic salt."
It could be. It could be.
Okay, well, then let's talk about your favorites. Like, what are your top 3 historic bars in the city?
Well, let's go back to the Nob Hill Bar and Grill. Let's talk about that one as a place that doesn't belong where it's at. As you've got this city built up around it, and you've got the trendy places to eat and shop around it, and it feels like it made it through some wave of transformation on 21st, which is great. It celebrates its history, knows who it is. Great food, another small elite bar where 3-4 seats at that thing, but a great neighborhood tavern.
I can jump in. We again, this podcast and our podcast are not sponsored by Slim's, but Slim's was our top 3. No, Slim's. The second we walked in, we sat at the bar. Nate, we asked for our 2 favorite beers. We're surprised they were actually served to us. And Nate just turned to me and said, "We're home, pal." And that was it was the first time we'd walked in the door. And for all the reasons we spoke about earlier, Slim's is doing so much right. We wish we lived a lot closer, but it is everything you want in a historic bar. And just that spirit, that energy of people who felt empowered to come up and start a conversation with us, whether we wanted one or not, was wonderful. Ultimately, we do want the conversation. So Slim's is right there, and I'll let Nate tell us what our number 1 bar was of all of them.
Ooh, drum roll.
It's got to be Jake's Famous Crawfish for us, and not to be confused with Jake's Grill. I'm sure they're doing wonderful things down there, but it's not a historic bar. Jake's Famous Crawfish is like the epitome of a special evening out and where you want to be to just celebrate something. And I think it goes to the white-coated bartenders who are always incredibly friendly, the history that is dripping from the top of the ceiling to the bottom of the floor in that place, all of the photos of the Portland dignitaries and proletariat alike, the vibe alone, and the 5-puck bathroom. Wow. It's got to be the History by the Glass number 1 historic bar in Portland.
Yeah, it checks every box, and and we find ourselves there a lot. So we love Huber's and other places like that. We had a long list that we had to winnow down, but we actually end up at Jake's at that bar top in the middle of the day, at the end of the day, quite often. So there must be a reason for that.
Right. Are you guys on the west side?
We are.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, that's why. It's your bar. Yeah. Yep. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Some honorable mentions. Can we throw out some honorable mentions if you have time?
Yeah.
We really want to tip the cap to Alibi and Sandy Hut. Alibi being the oldest. That's the front half of the Alibi is the best 400 square feet of drinking space in the city. We're not big fans of the back karaoke half, but and then the Sandy Hut is celebrating 100 years this month. So welcome to the Century Club, to the Sandy Hut.
Nice. Have you guys, this is another St. John's bar, by the way.
Sure.
Have you heard of Your Inn Tavern?
It's right on the list.
It's
I know it claims 1923. I was just thinking about it this morning. We have not been there.
Excellent burger, excellent fries, and just that kind of, I can't explain the bar situation, the bar top. You're going to love it. You go in and it has this like horseshoe.
There you go.
A horseshoe bar. I mean, when you look up, there are wooden like removable plaques that someone looks like they made, and you look up and you know who your bartender is because their name is up. And then there's also pictures of people who've been there for a long time. People who have passed.
You had us at, I can't describe this bar. I think that's wonderful.
And then I go on to describe this bar. I have no words. Here are 5,000.
Exactly.
We don't know how we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
But St. John's is like the historic bar neighborhood in this whole city. So there's so many there. We're always joking about putting an office up at St. John's just so we have an excuse to be there.
I'm so glad that you guys had such a good time when you came over. I know you guys are on the west side. It's a whole thing. You have to walk through Forest Park to get here.
Yeah, this is really hard without a car. It's,
walking stick and
I know. And then you got
bag.
to take the canoe. It's just a lot. I know it's a trek out here.
When we say historic, we really mean historic. Well, we'll go, and then you'll have us back on, and we'll talk about the year-end tavern. How about that?
Yeah, weekly spot. A weekly spot.
Yes, if you need people out in the field, we are happy to be those people.
I love this idea, actually. Just like coming in, here's a new weekly bar. That's awesome. Well, Nate, Alfredo, thank you so much for hanging out with me. And also just thanks for your passion, you guys. Thanks for doing this. I love a good spreadsheet. I know you have one going.
Yes.
So cheers to you guys, seriously.
Well, hey, thanks for having us on, Claudia. And, embrace your whole creative self is kind of the mission statement of this project. And even if people listen or don't listen, go for it.
We make the same $0. And also, everybody, please, we end the show this way on our actual podcast. Please tip your bartender.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support the show, please share it with a friend, rate or leave us a good review. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.